Kim Townsel here. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to show you my youngest son, probably his favorite thing that I make. It's called taco pie. On the top, the ingredients are shown, and I'll walk you through all this, and then on the bottom, the finished product is shown. Now let's walk through the recipe, and then I'll show you how I make it. This is the official recipe to make one taco pie. I'm going to show you how to make two. It uses 1 pound of ground beef, a pack of taco seasoning mix, or you can make your own, but it's not as good. Some water, and you can add olives or peppers if you like, some corn chips, sour cream, a pastry shell, and some cheddar cheese. And you're going to bake this in the oven at 400 degrees, but you're going to preheat the oven first. We're going to cook our ground beef. We're going to stir in our seasoning and some water to make our sauce. We're going to put some corn chips in the bottom of the pie crust. We're going to put the meat on that, spread sour cream on top, put cheese on the sour cream, and then decorate with some chips. I've made this for many years. This is my original recipe that I wrote down, and I retyped it so that my students can make it. Now let's see how to make two at one time. It is really important on this recipe to start with the best ingredients. When people have tried to cut corners and use store brands or inferior ingredients, they're not really satisfied with the results. And I'll walk you through these again, but I recommend Fritos corn chips, Sargento or Kraft cheese, some really good high quality ground beef like ground chuck or super lean ground beef, Daisy sour cream, and either McCormick or El Paso taco seasoning mix, and Pet Ritz pie shells. It is super important to buy the Pet Ritz pie shells, the deep crust. The store brands are just not any good at all. So go ahead and spend the extra money. Get the Pillsbury Pet Ritz deep dish pastry crust. I'll get it out in a minute. Take the pastry crust out of the plastic and use a fork to poke holes in the bottom of the pastry crust so that they don't bubble up. Make sure you not poke holes through the aluminum pie pan though. I crush the corn chips up while they're still in the bag. You can do this by mashing very carefully on one end. Don't mash it too hard or it's going to explode. If you're more comfortable poking a tiny hole in the top, you can hold them upright and do it that way. But I found this method works best. I take about a third of the crushed Fritos and put them in the bottom of one of the pie shells, a third of the crushed Fritos and put it in the bottom of the other pie shell, and leave about a third for the topping. Now for the meat. Remember to take a high quality ground beef, ground chuck or lean ground beef, and we're going to cook that in a skillet. I used an electric skillet at about 375 to 400 degrees, but you could cook it in a skillet on top of the stove, either way. We want to cook it as brown as we want to get it. We want to get all the blood out, all the pink out, all the red out, and if you like it a little bit browner, go ahead and do that because it's not going to get any browner after we put it in the oven. This is how much grease and fluid I had left over after I got mine as brown as I wanted. You can drain it, but I just used some tongs and paper towels to blot out and soak up the liquid. And then I just dumped the paper towels into the bag that the pie crusts were in because I want to get all of the grease out before I add my seasoning mix. My favorite seasoning mix to use is the McCormick, and I'm going to use 2 packs here because I'm making 2 taco pies, because when you buy the pie shells, there's 2 pastry shells in there, duh. I'm going to open both of these and dump the seasoning mix on top of my ground beef as shown. Then I'm going to take the empty package that the seasoning mix came in and just put a little bit of water in it, like maybe about half or a little less than half. That's going to give me the water I need to make this a seasoning sauce on the meat and get the rest of the goodness out of the packages. I just stir that in there together like that. You want to really coat your meat with all the seasoning mix and let it simmer for 5 minutes. That simmering is going to allow the ingredients in the seasoning mix packet to thicken up and make that yummy sauce. Once the meat and the sauce is simmered, we're going to spoon half of the meat into one pie shell and the other half of the meat onto the other pie shell. Remember, there's crunched up Fritos in the bottom of this. Take the back of the spoon, smooth out the meat mixture evenly over the pie crust. Now let's use the sour cream. I like the Daisy brand sour cream the best of all the brands that are available to me. This container is 16 ounces, so I'm going to use half of it on one pie and then the other half on the other pie. So I just dollop it out in the middle using a spoon. And then I use the back of the spoon to spread the sour cream out evenly over the meat mixture. It doesn't matter if you get some of the meat and the sauce in there because it's all going to cook together anyway. I like Kraft cheese or Sargento cheese, and I bought a 16-ounce package, but I'm not going to use all of this on the 2 pies. You can use more cheese on there if you like, but my son doesn't like it with a whole lot of cheese on there, so I'm only going to use about this much. And I put my pie shells on a baking sheet because that helps to get the pies in and out of the oven a little bit better, and then if things fall off, they're not going to fall on your oven. They're going to fall on this baking sheet instead. So after I put the cheese on there, I spread it out like that, and this is what it's going to look like before I put the garnish on. Remember that 1/3 of the crushed up Fritos that we had in the bag? We're going to dump those in the middle and then spread them out a little bit. Spread them out more than what I'm showing you here. Then we're going to bake the pies in our preheated oven at 400 degrees. We're going to bake it for about 20 minutes. We don't want to get it too brown because we don't want those Fritos to burn. So just check them when it looks good and brown to you like that. That's what they look like when they're finished cooking. And now they are ready to cut up and eat. Yummy. Thank you for watching my video about the taco pie. Remember, sometimes I guess we just have to do the that kind of cooking every now and then. I don't think it's going to hurt us, and it makes him very happy, so I'm happy to make it. He likes the taco pie so much, he's actually requested to have that instead of a birthday cake for his birthday. So he blew the candle out on his taco pie. Isn't that cute? Remember, it's free to like, it's free to subscribe, it's free to leave a comment below, it's free to share the video if appropriate, and if you make this recipe, remember to don't scrimp on the ingredients. Go ahead and buy the best ones that you can get, because many people, when they try to make this, they get like the store brand pie crust. They try to get the cheaper sour cream, or they put some of their kind of skanky meat in there and they're not happy with the results. So just get the ingredients I told you to get and you'll be happy. And until next time, take care. Make somebody happy when you cook. Bye. Here's the recipe again. Remember, this recipe is to make 1 pie, and it's what I used when I taught school, so that each group of students would only make 1 pie. But the video that I showed you, I doubled that because the ingredients come that way. Enjoy!